Hello. So this is Pearl, and you can't see me today because I don't want you to see me, because I have got a migraine and pain is coming and going, and I'm just trying to do all the things that make it better today. And one of the things that makes it better is to be in green spaces. So if you can see this, you'll see I'm in a lovely garden, and you might even get a little tour in a moment. You know, it might be a bit crunchy because it's gravel here, so it's not entirely quiet. You can hear the road, you can hear the building noise over there. It's remarkable how hard it is to find a really quiet space. That's why I love the beach, because I go out quite far and you can just hear the sea, and that's quite lovely. But so we wanted to talk about the green spaces for pain relief. You might find you get a weird camera angle sometimes because somebody walks past and I don't want to film somebody without their permission. But if you can see, you see all these different colours of green. There's so much research about green and green light and things like that, but our brains love green. In fact, I should make my whole bedroom green, shouldn't I? Maybe I'll go and look in the home shops and find some more green things. You know, that's not a bad idea. And it's actually quite interesting. Somebody sent me a thing recently about a pharmacist whose brother suffered from, I think, headaches or migraine, and he was talking about this green light thing, and his brother was saying, "Oh, I just like to go and sit in the garden." And I think you can't beat getting out into the garden and to nature. And a lot of times, you know, with healing, we don't necessarily need to know why something works, because it might just be a placebo, you know, but that's okay. A placebo works. And that's what's just awesome and wonderful about it. And it really, when you're in a lot of pain, or even things like, you know, mental health problems like depression or you know, grief, things like that, anything that helps is good. And when you have a really severe pain issue, like chronic pain or something, even a 1% improvement can mean the difference between being able to get up in the morning, or you know, or just honestly not making it through. And you know, that's the reality of it. So this pharmacist, anyway, he's developed a green light, and he's done some research and things like that. You can go and look it up. And the thing about it is, as you said, like a lot of things, as a pharmacist, he's very aware that this kind of thing doesn't have a lot of side effects. So it's very, very good for you. But also, you know, when you get outside, you also get that lovely air. And, you know, they say that the plants are often giving off a lot of chemicals, or soaking up chemicals, soaking up pollution and things like that, which can make us worse. And that's also really good for our well-being and our health. And I love a good tree hug. And actually, it's one of the things that I did in the middle of COVID is I used to walk down to the beach, and there's a little wood there. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, that I worked out, because I was living on my own and my family was shielding, I didn't touch another human being for about 5 months. And so in the middle of COVID, I would just go down into the woods, and I would go up to a lovely tree and I would just hug the tree. Which actually is really, really sad, you know, when you look back and think about it, you know. But I think a tree hug is better than no hug, and it's very good for us. You know, there's a lot of research on green spaces. I don't know if there's a lot of research on tree hugging, but one of the things I mentioned in my book, there is a section on tree hugging. And I remember that when I went to I've created a lot of retreats. So what I love in my books, and if you go and check them out, I create a lot of what I call an escape in a box. So and this is where I started, like 15 years ago. Goodness me, 15 years ago. In fact, today I got a message from Zumba, and I've been a Zumba instructor for 15 years. Can you believe it? Anyway, so 15 years, and I started, and what I did is I put together the spa, the place to stay, the place to eat, and how to get there. And I thought, this is great. I'm basically creating an escape or a retreat in a box, so people can just go off and do it. And also, you know, really not necessarily the cheapest, but really good value. So if you're spending a lot of money, it's really worth the money. Or really cheap things, like really cheap spas and cheap hotels. And so you could do it without necessarily doing like a package, where it can often be a lot more expensive. So for example, some of the best spas in the world, like say the Mandarin Oriental in London, it's not a lot more expensive for a massage than, you know, somewhere on the high street. But staying there, you know, you're talking about thousands and thousands of pounds for a night in a hotel. So not the most affordable. But anyway, sorry, because I am live here, and I am live and outside. So sometimes there's people going past, and I'm trying to make sure I don't catch them, because they don't want to be in the podcast. They might do, but we're not going to give them that option today. I'm talking to you. So anyway, and if you can see this, you can see these beautiful leaves and trees, different kinds of pine, and especially at this time of year, you've got the trees where they've lost all their leaves and they look a bit dead, but they're not dead. They're going to come back to life. Honestly, I feel like that a lot of the time as well. You know, I think one day I'm just going to leap out of this being ill business, and I'm going to be able to do everything again. It's going to be so amazing. And the truth is, I probably will have forgotten how bad this is, and one day I'll look back and I'll go, oh gosh, remember when I was like that? Remember when it was really awful all the time? But we forget, because I know that tomorrow I'll have forgotten how bad this is, because we're meant to forget pain. You know, we're meant to forget it and process it and move on. And then something will happen, like you see something in a film or read a book, and I'll tap into just how awful it's been, and I'll have a really, really good cry. And I've had a really good cry this morning, which is just sitting here just now. So I got up, got on the bus, did my swim, pretended to be normal. And a lovely lady in the gym, I forgot my towel, so a lovely lady in the gym lent me like a washcloth face towel kind of thing. She said, oh, just give it back to reception when you're finished. And I thought, people are so good. And I know when I was traveling, a lot of the times, you know, when I went traveling on my own, I went around the world, did the Camino, everything like that, and everybody was so worried, and I was so worried, and everybody was warning me, oh, be careful of this, be careful of that. You know, people have been killed on the Camino, and, you know, this kind of thing, that kind of thing. But actually, people are so kind and so good, and we don't hear about that. You know, we don't hear about all the wonderful things that people do for each other and to each other. And I think that's why I love the healing thing. You know, it's great to go to massage and spas and things like that, but just the action of getting out, sorry, it's getting a bit windy here, the action of sort of getting out and doing those kind of things, you meet people, and often people can see when you're struggling, and they will reach a hand out and they will try and help you. And I think the overwhelming majority of people will, if they see that you're struggling, will try to help. And a very small minority will try and take advantage. And it is a tiny, you know, for my traveling around the world, all places, all cultures, you know, it's the tiniest minority that will not help you when you're in trouble. And that is I think that's the humanness. As human beings, we are wonderful and we are lovely, and we do take care of each other, and it is part of being part of the human race. If we're not doing that, then I think we need to question who we are and what we are doing, because it's not what human beings are really like, you know. So there's something else going on there. Anyway, that's a bit sort of gone a bit far there. But I just wanted to share this green space. I know it's not quiet, and we do need more green spaces, and we do need more quiet to help us with our being. But I actually started this because I wanted to also share, as well as the tree hugging. Oh yeah, that was the story I was going to tell you. Sorry, it's a bit of a ramble today. I say I'm not feeling so great. It's a little bit disjointed, and ordinarily I wouldn't write if I was feeling like this. I wouldn't go to work if I was feeling like this. But the reason I wanted to do this is because I know there's so many people out there who are struggling with their health, mind, body, and spirit. And sometimes the worst thing that we can do is pretend that we're okay and not share the difficult moments. And I have people in my family who have health issues, and I know often we put a brave face on, we do our best, we try, we say, oh, I'm fine, I'm okay. But I often have to say to my family members, look, you've got to be honest. You've got to tell me when you need help. You've got to tell me when you're feeling poorly. And it's okay. It's okay to ask for help and to be truthful. Because otherwise, we as a family, we need to help each other out as a human family as well as a little, literal family. Anyway, so the tree hugging thing, sorry about this. So I went on a retreat to Sedona, and it was one of the first proper retreats I've been on. I've only been on a couple of real official retreats. Most of the time I create them myself. So I would go to amazing spas and do amazing things, but then I sort of create the whole little package for myself, which is what a lot of the books are about. But anyway, this one in Sedona was Don Miguel Ruiz, my first time with him and his family, and we went to this incredible place in Sedona, and I apologize, I've forgotten the name. It will be somewhere in my in my notes. I think it was the Mago retreat in Sedona, and it's a huge space. It's about half an hour drive down a dirt road away from anything else. And so when I got there, and it's beautiful grounds, I mean, a lot of it's very wild. You have coyotes, and I think it's coyotes, but definitely deer or some kind of deer that they have there that kept jumping out on us. Probably a lot of rattlesnakes as well. And in the middle there's this beautiful healing lake and little bridge. Oh, it's wonderful. And especially when we did a nighttime thing, and it was just wonderful being around the lake, in the dark with just a tiny bit of light. It was just glorious. But we went down, and they were doing a little walk around, showing us around the retreat space. It's a beautiful space. And I just thought, I'm going to go hug a tree. And I went up to this tree and I hugged it. And everybody in our group, in this retreat, just kind of looked at me, and they went, looked at me like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I thought, I'm in Sedona. Sorry, it's a little bit windy here. I'm in Sedona. It's like the mung bean capital of the world. I'm at a retreat space, we're about to do this retreat with all these amazing teachers. And yet, the people on this retreat are looking at me like I'm a big weirdo because I'm hugging a tree. So I am a weirdo amongst weirdos. Proper mung bean elite, if you like. And what I loved was then when we were doing the talks, or later in the evening, and I think it was Don Miguel Ruiz or something, or Don Jose Ruiz, who's got up, and they were talking about the venue and the space, how lovely it was, and they were like, go and hug a tree. And all the people who'd seen me hug a tree earlier all looked at me. They're like, oh, you you know about this tree hugging business. You think, yes, it's very technical. You go up to a tree and you put your arms around it. And I'm actually just sitting here right now looking at these trees thinking, when I finish this, I'm going to go and hug a tree as well. I'll go and have a nice tree hug. It'll be lovely. But one other lesson I just wanted to share with you was, and if you're watching this, it's something you can do and you can see. So we often talk about mindfulness, and I'll probably do another episode on mindfulness because there's a lot to say. But one way that we can practice mindfulness is just by sitting and looking at something like a flower or a tree or a hedge or a bush. Don't laugh because I said bush, I know. Anyway, and now I've started on the bush thing and you're making me laugh. Okay, we're going to be serious and look at this really nice tree here. So look, there's a little bit of undergrowth here. Oh, now it's an undergrowth. Right. A fern. That's pretty safe, right? So we've got a fern, okay, and we want to look at this fern. And what we do for mindfulness is just examine it and look in real detail and look at really focus on every tiny thing about it. So you could even smell it, you could even look at it and look at the shape of the leaves, the colors of the leaves. Some of them are a little bit older, some of them are really fresh and green. And what we're doing is really bringing our attention and practicing full attention. And you can do this with a plant. It's a wonderful thing to do this with a plant or a flower and look so intently that it's almost sometimes like you kind of disappear into the flower. And that's really just one simple way to practice mindfulness. And I know like a lot of people struggle with kind of meditation and mindfulness, and this is easy, this is complicated, this is this. So this is just one practice that I really like, and it's a wonderful kind of easy thing to do. So it's quite easy, just find a plant. And I think because a plant is simple and yet infinitely complicated as well, all the different, you look at the green and it's just all the shades of green, even in one, what you could call one colour, one plant. You can look at a bush and see all the different colours of the leaves in the autumn. And it's so simple, such a simple practice. But just that bringing the attention, that 100% focus on one tiny thing, which has so many different things within it. Anyway, I don't think that's very good for my headache. I'm not going to do any more mindfulness and focus. I'm just going to sit here and do what you might call forest bathing in a park. Is it park bathing if you do it in a park? But it's that thing of just allowing that greenery to kind of bathe you in that green light. And between that and a very strong cup of coffee, I might feel better in a bit. Anyway, I know it's a little bit of a weird one. I hope you enjoyed this. Please do share and write me in the comments on the YouTube if you like. And apologies if this isn't the most professional episode or what you were hoping for, but I wanted to share this because I know so many of us are struggling, and I thought it was a really sort of honest thing to do. So I hope it works for you. And sorry about the wind. Lots of love. Take care. Bye.